So, what is the 300 rule? Well, I found out about the 300 rule when I started RVing. The 300 rule is that you stop driving when you hit 300 miles or you reach 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is similar to the approach my sister and I took when driving Route 66. There we usually made about 250 miles a day. The advantages to do this is it prevents you from getting tired, allows you to see what that part of the country has to offer. Usually is only one tank of gas. You fill up in the morning and then you don't have to do it again until the next morning. And it helps you not to feel rushed. You know what you're going to see in that area. You're only going to drive maybe 5 hours, and overall that's doable in just one day. The way I used to road trip was driving as far as I could in a day, which was usually 10 hours. You could make 1 or 2 short stops, and overall it would be 12 hours when you reached your destination. The longest I ever drove nonstop was from Denver to New Orleans in 22 hours to meet a friend from Australia. She is someone that I hadn't met in person before, but that I'd met in IRC chat. I also got a wild hair one day and left Denver at 6 a.m., drove to Devil's Tower, Wyoming, Crazy Horse, South Dakota, and saw the sunset at Mount Rushmore. And then I drove home, getting there early the next morning. When I went to South Korea for the 2002 World Cup, I rented a Hyundai. In one day there, I drove 210 kilometers on a tollway from Seoul for 7.5 hours in some of the worst traffic I've ever seen. This is almost the entire length of South Korea. I also rented a car in Australia and drove from Sydney down to Adelaide. Hardest thing there was always walking to the wrong side of the car. Well, that and shifting a manual with my right hand instead of my left. Fortunately, the pedals were in the same place. In total, I've traveled to all the lower 48 states. Additionally, I've been to 11 countries on 6 continents. But in the last 3 years, I've driven over 80,000 miles through 37 of the United States. During this time, I've seen a lot. I've taken over 100,000 pictures, discovered a lot of history about our country, seen tons of unique roadside treasures that haven't all disappeared yet. Plus, I found a few shortcuts that should make you want to pull off the interstate. And the bonus is, I want to share all these things with you. My plan over the next 3 months is to produce 30 videos as I travel from Georgetown, Texas to Key West, Florida. These will come out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. These videos will do one of 3 things. Be highlights in and of certain cities you need to see. Day trips that you can make from major cities I've visited. Then 300 rule routes that highlight the things that you can see on that particular stretch of highway. By doing this, I hope you will get out and to see what I've seen, and by doing so, change your perspective on our great country. Because, as Mark Twain said, travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all of one's lifetime. And I leave you with one other quote from Anthony Bourdain. Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart. But that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. Hopefully, you leave something good behind.